So my second book, I actually did 2.5 books on homosexuality. In my second, I simply document about 200 cases of people fined, thrown in jail, losing their job, kicked out of Facebook. Now, who could that be? Who gets kicked out of Facebook? Books being banned by Amazon, videos being taken down by YouTube. You know, it can be soft tyranny. You know, Facebook bans, YouTube bans, Twitter bans, or it can be worse. If we get into COVID later, I mean, you know, I got a pastor friend who just came out of 3 weeks in jail here in Melbourne for daring to hold a worship service on a Sunday, right? The state has said you can't do it. It's a non-essential service. However, we can have pubs open. We can have brothels open. We can have sporting events. We can have Black Lives Matter marches, massing in the streets of Victoria, but you dare not have your church open. So again, there's always competing rights claims, and a good government, a fair government, will try to weigh up all the different groups, try to get some sort of balance or equity there. But an activist, often secular left government, is pushing for one group only, all their mates and their buddies, and they're quite happy to penalize and persecute anyone who dares to differ. So that's a worry. Yeah. Well, that's one of the most shocking of the many laws that Dan Andrews has pushed through with the help of his 3 buddies in the upper house, these, you know, so-called independents, crossbenchers, who are simply cutting dirty deals with Dan Andrews, right? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So Dan says, look, you vote for this and other bills, including more emergency powers. Now he wants permanent emergency powers in Victoria. You know, dictatorship for life. That's what he wants. And his 3 mates in the upper house give it to him. And he'll give them a few, you know, one of them's a sex party, others the animal justice party. I mean, anyway. So, yeah, you have this situation now with the so-called anti-conversion therapy laws, which were passed. If homosexual or somebody with same-sex attraction comes to me or to you or to a pastor or a counselor or basically anybody and says, you know, I got a few questions about this. I'm not necessarily happy with this. Can we talk about this? Maybe you could pray for me. Maybe you could counsel me. That is now not only illegal, 100% in Victoria. You can go to jail for 10 years. If I simply say, hey, brother, can I pray for you for 5 seconds, you know, which, by the way, makes it, you know, we got to be more careful. If somebody knocks on my door tomorrow and says, hey, man, I hear you pray for people like me. Can I get some prayer? I got to suss them out a little bit because it could be a set-up job very easily, deliberate attempt to frame me. So even if it's legit, somebody else could find out, report me. I could be in jail, not just Facebook jail now, but 10 years in the slammer. I mean, just think about it for a moment. To actually, somebody wants a bit of counsel, whether or not you pray, just wants, you know, I want to talk about this. That is now illegal. We have such a protected species with the whole homosexual trans minority that anyone who dares to even think differently, you know, it's not just actions now, they're thought crimes, hate speech. To even think that you can pray for somebody, this is hateful, right? In the past, if somebody killed you or stole from you, that was a crime. Now they're targeting your very thoughts, your very motivations. So, yeah, it's scary stuff. That's why people say, why are you involved in the culture wars? Well, come on. Everything we talked about, if that doesn't get you a little bit excited, what will? I mean, you mentioned Germany in the 30s and 40s, and as you say, in a sense, we're not supposed to, right? But, well, look, there's a thing called learning from the lessons of history, and I've had a lot of people, it's not just me, who are very concerned, and they're saying, gee, a lot of what we did see in Germany in the 30s, I'm seeing happen now, whether it's with the Rona, whether it's with all these other agenda items, the whole woke situation we find everywhere, even with capitalism and corporations, identity politics, critical race theory, intersectionality, we can go on and on. They're saying, wait a minute, this is very similar. You mentioned the euthanasia laws and others. Well, gypsies, Jews being killed by the Nazis. Well, there was whole classes of people the mentally defective, physically defective. If they weren't part of the perfect master race, blonde-haired, blue-eyed German, Aryan stock, well, they were bumping off everybody. And medical and scientific elites were up to their necks in affirming what the Nazis were doing, working with them. You had the occasional brave champion. You had Bonhoeffer, you had Niemöller, and Sophie Scholl and the White Rose movement. I've actually, if we're not getting too far off here, started a whole new section on my website called Resistance Theory. The theory that is there ever a place, at least for Christians, where you can disobey government, where you have to say no to the state to say yes to God. So obviously Sophie and Hans Scholl, she was beheaded by the Nazis at 21 years of age, her brother at 23. Bonhoeffer, of course, was also killed by the Nazis. They were resisting an evil, tyrannical government, and they did so out of their Christian conviction. This is not right. When the state usurps the role of God, as you say, it starts to decide who can live and who can die, which is exactly what it does with the abortion legislation and so on. Well, then, not just Christians, even non-Christians have to ask, is there a time and a place? Civil disobedience, saying no to the state. Like my friend Paul, 3 weeks in jail for keeping his church open on a Sunday. So these, we are moving in some pretty hardcore times. So it's not amiss to look at Germany in the 30s and say, are there parallels today that we need to watch out for?